நமச்சிவாய வாழ்க, நாதன் தான் வாழ்க, இமைப்பொழுதும் என் நெஞ்சில் நீங்காதான் தான் வாழ்க. அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். மீண்டும் மக்கள் ஆதங்கத்தில் மை ஐ டைம்ஸ் மூலமாக மக்கள் ஆதங்கத்தில் இன்று நம்மளிடம் ஒரு நண்பர் லண்டன்லேருந்து வந்திருக்கார். அவர் பேர் முகேஷ். அவரோட ஃபேமிலி பேர் கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டமாக இருக்குது என்ன ப்ரொனவுன்ஸ் பண்ணுறதுக்கு. அவரே ப்ரொனவுன்ஸ் பண்ணார். அவர் ஹிந்துயிசம் ஸ்டடி குரூப் லண்டன்லேருந்து வந்திருக்காரு. இந்த சமயத்தை பற்றி அங்கே கற்றுக் கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. அதை பற்றி இன்று அவரிடம் நம்ம பேசி என்னென்ன செய்கிறாங்க, இந்த ஸ்டடி பற்றின்னு நம்ம பேச போகிறோம். ஸோ இது முழுமையாக இன்றைக்கி ஆங்கிலத்தில் நம்ம பேச போகிறோம். எவ்வளோ என்னால் அதை தமிழில் ட்ரான்ஸ்லேட் பண்ண முடியுமோ நான் முயற்சி பண்ணுறேன். ஸோ நம்ம ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு முதல் நமஸ்கார், வணக்கம் முகேஷ் ஜி.
Namaskar, you too, Kumar ji. It's nice to be here.
Thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today. Please say a few things. Say about yourself, your job. I mean, what you have been doing in the study group and stuff like that. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, my name is Mukesh Karelia. I come from London in England, and I've come to your beautiful place, Malaysia, and to speak a little bit about Hinduism study group. I'll give you a bit of a background. Yeah. When previously going to temples in London in particular, I used to find that I would go to the temple, I would go inside the temple, I would go and bow down to the various murtis and put money in the donation boxes, and the priest, the pujari, would give me prasadam, which is fine, but that was the net dealings with the priest. There was no other interaction. I had hundreds of questions to ask about Hinduism, but the priest would not have the time because there were so many other people to answer questions from. And secondly, I felt that they didn't seem to be equipped to give the answers. So I found that a little bit frustrating because I wanted to know much more about my own religion. So therefore, some time ago, I wanted to form my own group where I could meet with other people. Within Hinduism, we suffer from one thing, and that is our temples don't have meeting rooms. So if you want to have a chat with a fellow Hindu, there's no place where you can actually have conversation. You cannot converse within the main hall of the temple because it will be creating a noise nuisance.
Yes.
Now, as opposed to a church or a mosque where they are lucky enough to have a community room or a meeting room, our temples don't have that facility. So initially, I started meeting people in coffee houses, just a few minutes here and there, arranging appointments, arranging meetings, and eventually I built it up into a small group of people.
Mukesh ji, this meeting was for you to share or for you to mingle around to clear some of your doubts? What was it?
Initially, it was to actually mingle with fellow Hindus.
Okay.
Who, as we spoke in the meetings over coffee, also had the same issues that I had about temples, that there was no actual conversation with the priests.
There was no interaction with, there are some doubts, and you have nowhere to ask, or you don't have somebody to ask, clarify your doubts.
Precisely.
And I think almost 90% or majority of us go through this experience as a Hindu. We go to the temple, we as you say, we pray, the pujari gives the prasadam, and then we put some donation, vibhuti, and as a tradition, we're supposed to be silent for a couple of minutes and walk away.
That's exactly it. And sometimes one might stay behind for arti.
Yeah.
So again, with the arti, it was up to you to get yourself a little booklet from which you could read the prayers for the arti. The pujaris, the priests, didn't give you that. Yeah. So, and the arti was sung by everybody getting together for about 10-15 minutes, and everybody spoke. But there was no explanation of what the arti meant. So, all in all, this gave me the impetus to form these little groups, and we used to ask each other questions. And yes, to answer your question, yes, it allowed us an opportunity to mingle. And following on from that, we actually started to ask questions. And those of us who knew some of the answers would then educate the others in the group. And so that's how Hinduism study group started.
When did you start this? 5-10 years ago?
Over 18 months ago, I started the actual formal group.
Okay.
But they had the concept in my head, and meeting other people took me about 2.5 to 3 years. So it was a long struggle.
Okay.
And so we began to meet formally, and then I was lucky enough to make acquaintance with one particular ashram where we would meet on Saturdays. And we had a formal Gita training course conducted by a very, very learned Bengali PhD, and he would transcribe the Sanskrit Gita. He would translate the 2 slokas lines into 4 lines of Hindi, then would translate into English, and that really was great because we began to understand Gita. And then I would do an hours of Hinduism study group with the people who were in the group already, and that was really great because people really began to take interest.
Okay.
To the extent that within my group, I have an Italian man and his English wife who are really very much into Hinduism, and the Italian man is actually converted to Hinduism.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that, I think, is tremendous.
Now, what made him to convert to Hinduism?
Well,
Because
I
as
think-
Hindus, we don't convert anyone.
Well, I think in his case, he had been looking for the truth. He'd been looking for answers. And I think Buddhism and certainly Hinduism provided him with the answers. And he was so impressed with Hinduism that he then decided to become a disciple at the particular ashram. And it was really great. And to see him, I wasn't trying to convert him. That wasn't my intention at all.
Yeah.
But to see that somebody...
Nor does all Hindus. We don't go around
Or,
converting.
yes, certainly. And as part of setting up this Hinduism study group, I was fortunate enough that somebody in the United States helped me set up the website for the Hinduism study group. So now we actually have a website for Hinduism study group, which is basically hsginuk.org. That's the website.
Okay.
And together with that, we have a Facebook page also. So it's really moving on now to the extent that now I'm feeling quite overwhelmed, and I'm beginning to feel the need for a couple of assistants who can assist me. Because the idea is that we are going to spread these groups throughout the world.
Okay.
We want to have global Hinduism study groups, starting off with the groups in London, and following on from that, we want to set up more groups within the UK,
Okay.
and then spread to Europe and throughout the world. And Facebook affords that particular possibility. I'm very happy to report that I've got approximately 2,400 Facebook friends.
Wow.
And
Good start. Good start. Very good
Thank you.
start. Yeah.
Thank you. And it's very difficult trying to keep pace with them.
Yeah.
Because I'm asked a lot of questions through Facebook Messenger, and every day I'm spending about 3-4 hours trying to do research, providing the answers. And I'm a member of several WhatsApp groups also, so that again also takes up room every day. But I'm happy to do this because I feel that Hinduism is such a beautiful religion. It's not just a religion, it's a way of life, it's a philosophy, it is so rich. It would take several lifetimes to actually understand it all. And I'm very happy to do this. And
How big is your group, the study group?
the study group itself, the weekly study group that we have 10 people in the group.
Okay.
We meet in an ashram where there's a small study room which can only take 10 people. We have the old school type of chairs with a fold down sort of platform
Okay.
on which you can rest your book.
Okay.
So we have space for 10 people only. So
When
we
you
have-
say ashram, usually the word ashram takes us to a place in India where the environment, the setup is totally different. But now you say ashram only for 10, this might be something for I can't picture it, but
Well, yes, the word ashram, well, in fact, the name of the place is the Brahma Rishi Mission.
Okay.
And we sort of affectionately call it the ashram.
okay.
And so there's space for, there's a small study room. There's a main hall where the murtis are, where the shrine is. And but we tend to meet in the study room. And there's space for 10 people there and 2 people sitting on the floor.
Okay.
And so we have the Gita class and then my Hinduism study group. We also meet every 3rd Saturday of every month in another place, which is the Jalaram Jyot Mandir, which I'm very fortunate that I'm allowed the facility.
Okay.
And the person who looks after this has very kindly allowed me this facility. And so we meet there every third Saturday. Here we extend the actual material to not just learning about Hinduism, but presenting Veda as a science.
Okay.
And people are very interested in that. And it's not just talking about religion, but actually talking about Veda in a scientific way. How did the concept of the zero come into being? How did acupuncture come into being? How did Ayurvedic medicine come into being? And that is really drawing people into it. And we are also fortunate that one of the managers who is managing the temple, he also happens to have knowledge, Vedic knowledge,
Okay.
and he teaches meditation and mindfulness. So that is also helping to bring people.
Now, you was mentioning that you have 2,500 followers in the Facebook, friends.
Yeah.
Is it a personal Facebook or is it under the Hindu study group?
I'm not personally on Facebook or
Yeah.
Twitter or any of the social
Okay.
media. I'm only basically just on WhatsApp. But the Hinduism study group has the Facebook page.
Okay.
And that is
It's called Hinduism Study Group.
It's got Hinduism study group, and that's the actual web. The website is hsginuk.org.
Okay.
And there's a Facebook link to that.
Okay.
And so you can link onto it through the website.
Okay.
And the Facebook following that I have is amazing. We have Facebook friends from Suriname, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago in South America, through to Bangladesh, Bharat, South Africa, Mauritius,
Wow.
Europe, through to, we have 3 people in Guangdong in China.
Okay.
And we also have 1 follower in Mongolia. We got about 5 followers in Fiji.
Wow.
So I am happy to report that we have a following from west through to east, and it is expanding. And unfortunately, we have, or perhaps fortunately, we can only have 5,000 people on Facebook.
Yes, yes.
At the moment, I'm having trouble dealing with 2,400 people. So I think when it comes to 500,000, it's going to be, and I would really like some assistance there so that I can divide up the zones of the people into different sort of continental zones.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure some of the viewers who are watching us, we would love you to come and join us and see what you can contribute. When I say us, means Mukesh Ji, to help and contribute in whatever way you can to expand Hinduism. Now, we are talking about this sorry.
No?
You want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say something that I'll be very happy should anybody volunteer to help me. It will be very, very great of you. Apart from teaching adults about Hinduism, and later on we want to extend it to children also, because
Yeah.
I think that's another area where I think Hinduism is missing, that often children don't get involved in Hinduism. But that's for a later project, and we'll need to have specialist teachers for that. The other aspect is that because there are misconceptions and myths and misrepresentations of Hinduism, we basically want to deal with those misconceptions and correct them. And our whole basis of our philosophy is ahimsa. That means that we do not react to anything in any aggressive way, either through physical or mental or spiritual or verbal violence. We do not believe in that. We do believe
Non-violence, yeah.
Complete non-violence.
Complete non-violence, yes.
And we only deal with these sort of threats to Hinduism in a totally intellectual and spiritual way. And one of the ways we found that Hinduism is being misrepresented is through school textbooks. So we are working on projects where we are going through various school textbooks given to young kids,
Yeah.
where young Hindu minds are being prejudiced against their own religion. So we are trying to correct that.
Example, what could that be?
Well, one recent example was a school textbook that was shown to me by one of the members in my WhatsApp group. And I read that book, and I found to my horror that Hinduism is really being misrepresented. And
Is this by design or by default?
I think it's intentional.
Okay.
Because if it was by mistake, then you would think that even somebody making mistakes would eventually ask themselves that, what are we writing here?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? We're damaging Hinduism. And so it is by design they're doing this. And one of the ways they do this is through the so-called Aryan invasion theory.
Okay.
So we got research groups working on that.
Okay.
We got a specific Hindu research group within Hinduism study group who are looking into all these aspects and correcting the misinformation which is there. And so I'm glad to say that we've actually got people working on this.
Okay.
And the people we have are in the United States and in Europe and in Holland and also in Bharat, who are helping us to correct this misinformation.
So basically this misrepresentation is, according to you from your experience, is this political, is this religious, where is this thing coming from?
We believe that there's a global conversion process going on.
Yeah.
Converting Hindus who are perhaps weak-minded for whatever. Their circumstances might be such that they are in an unfortunate position, maybe economically as well, and people who want to convert them take advantage of that.
Okay.
And one of the ways is to misrepresent Hinduism to the extent that our young kids become embarrassed about their own religion, and I think that is intentional. So we are trying to correct that.
So now, again, I'm asking whether it is politically inclined or is there I know what you're trying to say, but I want to put a nail to this, knock that in by saying whether this, according to you, from your experience, that whether it is this religious group who's behind to misrepresent, or is this politically motivated, or is it a combination of both?
I would say it's a combination of both, because there's a global war happening in terms of religious conversion.
Yeah.
And I think Hindu people are the weakest target. So it is very easy to target Hindus. And so there is a global sort of agenda to this. And so I would say that it is a mix of both driven by religious zealots,
Okay.
and also perhaps politically driven too. And but for us, we are not responding to the political sort of challenge, as it were.
Yeah.
We basically want to approach this in a totally non-violent way. And the way we want to represent our Hinduism is to present the intellectual, the spiritual side of Hinduism. And by being totally non-violent, what we are doing is we are preserving our moral high ground.
Okay.
We must never lose our moral high ground, because as soon as you commit even a mental aggression towards somebody, you automatically fall off the moral high ground, and we are nowhere.
Yeah.
If you do that.
That's the fundamental teaching of Hinduism.
It is.
Yeah, you take control, not to lose yourself, ahimsa and stuff like that.
Yes,
yeah,
that's right.
That's what we. But having said that, now the 2,500 friends that I know, how many of, where do they in what category are they in terms of age? Because from my little experience that I have, the conversion happens at a younger age. Yeah?
Okay.
So who are your friends in this group?
Okay, as far as the Facebook friends are concerned, many of them are driven to contacting Hinduism Study Group Facebook page for a variety of reasons. One of them is that it's possible that in the areas that they live in the world, they haven't got access to temples.
Okay.
So they may have been searching around on Facebook for the word Hinduism, and that's how they're making the connection. And so they make connections to us, and they ask me questions about Hinduism. And when talking with them through Facebook Messenger, when asking certain questions, it then appears that they are also victims of people who are trying to convert them.
Okay.
And so they're coming to Hinduism Study Group as a last resort to find out if there's any help available for them to overcome the challenges, because they often do not know how to answer. For example, a person who might be a missionary who tells them things and they don't know how to answer. And
so their faith is shaken.
Their faith is shaken. For example, a missionary might tell them that their religion, Hinduism, is a satanic religion.
Yeah.
and that the prasadam that the priest gives is from Satan. So that shakes their long belief that they have, which the parents and the ancestors have taught them. And so they get afraid. And I suppose they're looking on the internet for help, and they get tuned into Hinduism study group. And so that's one particular grouping.
I just want to address that to the viewers. Mukesh ji என்ன சொல்றாருன்னா, நம்மளோட சமயத்து மேல நம்மளுக்கு ஒரு ஆட்டம் உருவாகுதுன்னா எப்படின்னா, சமயத்தை மாற்ற வராங்களே அவங்க வந்து ஒன்றாவது என்ன சொல்கிறாங்களா, நம்ம சமயம் வந்து சேத்தானை கும்பிட்றோம், சைத்தானை கும்பிட்றோம், அங்கே கொடுக்குற கோயிலில் கொடுக்குற பிரசாதம் வந்து அது சைத்தான் கொடுக்குற பிரசாதம், இதை வாங்கி நம்ம சாப்பிட்றோன்னு நம்ம மேலே நம்ம சமயத்து மேலே உள்ள நம்பிக்கையை நம்மளை ஆட்டிடுறாங்க. அவங்க நம்ம அந்த நம்பிக்கை நம்ம ஆடின என்ன சொல்கிறது, நம்ம சரியாக தான் செய்கிறோமோ, நம்ம தவறு செய்கிறோமோ, இந்த சிந்தனை உருவாகணும். என்ன செய்யணும்னா வேறு மதம் எங்கேனாச்சும் வழி பார்த்து மதம் மாறுறது ஒரு பெரிய வாய்ப்பு நடக்குதுன்னு ஐயா சொல்கிறார்.
Okay. Another way in which the Hindus are sort of made to feel embarrassed about their religion is a constant message driven by those who want to undermine Hinduism is, oh, you have millions of gods, and there is only one God in the other religions, whereas you have millions of gods. Yeah. And so I tell my students, I train them into responding to that and say that, well, in fact, we don't have millions of gods. We believe that Hindus believe that there's divinity in everything. So therefore, you can worship whom you want. There's complete, total freedom in Hinduism. There's no dogma. Hinduism is not a dogmatic religion. Mm-hmm. Hinduism is not a dogmatic philosophy. It's a free and open philosophy where you are allowed to ask questions. So we say that, well, we see divinity in everything. I see God in you, I see God in the cameraman, I see God in everybody who might be in the room. And so, there is nothing to be afraid of when somebody says we got millions of gods. You say that, no, we haven't got millions of gods. And another thing is you worship the cow. Well, we don't worship the cow. We believe that the cow gives us milk. And so for us, the cow is reverential. And the cow is also the vehicle for Lord Shiva. So we respect the cow, and we are vegetarians, and some of us are vegans also, but we don't, if it really came to basic survival needs, we would not kill the cow because we respect the cow. So there are lots of myths put out by the people who want to undermine Hinduism. And I think it's up to us all to gather together and respond intellectually and spiritually and say that, well, in fact, what you're telling us is not true. And there's more to Hinduism that you're trying to portray.
Mukesh ji என்ன சொல்கிறாருன்னா, இந்த சமய கல்வி நம்மளுக்கு அறியாதனால, நம்மளுக்கு தெரியாதனால, எது மற்றவங்க கேட்குற கேள்விக்கு நம்ம பதில் சொல்ல தெரியாத, நம்மளுக்கு அந்த பதில் இல்லாதனால நம்ம மதம் மாற்றுறதுக்கு நம்ம தான் அவங்க ரொம்ப பேர்த்துக்கு டார்கெட். ஏன்னா நம்மளுக்கு சமயத்தை பற்றி தெரியாது. ஏன்னா உதாரணத்துக்கு உங்கள் சமயத்தில் ஆயிரக்கணக்கில் லட்சக்கணக்கில் கடவுள்கள் இருக்காங்க. ஆனால் நம்மளுக்கு தெரியும் ஒரு பாத், ஒன் ஸ்கூல் ஆஃப் தாட் இஸ் இன் இங்கிலீஷ், எவ்ரிதிங் இஸ் டிவைன். எல்லாத்துலேயும் ஒரு கடவுள் இருக்கார், ஒரு கடவுள் தன்மை இருக்காங்கன்னு நம்ம அந்த மரியாதையை கொடுக்குறோம். சித்தாந்தம் பார்த்தோம்னா அது வேற சொன்னால் கடவுள் ஒன்று தான், பரம்பொருள் ஒன்று தான். இதை நம்ம கற்றுக்கணும், நம்மளுக்கு தெரியணும். ஆனால் மற்றவங்க நம்மளை அந்த இந்த வடப்பா இல்லை அந்த இது உங்கள்கிட்ட இத்தனை கடவுள் இருக்குது, எப்படி உலகத்தில் இத்தனை கடவுள் இருக்கும்போது கேட்கும்போது நம்மளுக்கு பதில் இல்லாது. நம்ம பிள்ளைங்கள்ட்ட போய் கேட்கும்போது அவங்களுக்கும் பதில் இல்லை. பிள்ளைங்க நம்மகிட்ட கேட்டாங்கன்னா, அம்மா அப்பா கிட்ட, அம்மா நம்ம ஸ்கூலில் விடைக்கிறாங்க, எனக்கு நம்மளுக்கு ஆயிரக்கணக்கான கடவுள் இருக்கா, நம்மளுக்கு பதில் சொல்ல சும்மா இதெல்லாம் கேட்குறேன், அவனுக்குலாம் தெரியாது. ஸோ பிள்ளைங்களுக்கும் பதில் கொடுக்க முடியல நம்மளுக்கு, ஏன்னா அந்த கல்வி நம்ம கிட்ட இல்லை. ஸோ என்ன முகேஜி செய்கிறாருன்னா, இந்த கல்வி சமயத்தை he is sending across to people to have this awareness about the religion.
Yes.
Yeah, to help people to understand, so that when somebody challenges you, you are able to answer. More not about answering that particular person to prove that you are right, but you know who you are.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what they are saying is not true. I don't have to prove anything to yourself because I'm very clear, I'm aware what I'm doing. because I know my religion well.
Yes, and I'm also very content because my philosophy makes me very content.
Yeah, correct. So another thing is, you were saying a lot of people, your friends on your Facebook, because they want to know. What about non-Hindus trying to get some information, knowledge from you? Is that happening?
Yes, there is. Some of the people who want to become Facebook friends for HSG in UK, from the names it's obvious that they are not Hindus. Sometimes they're not even Indians or people from Bharatiya origins. Nevertheless, I screen through their profile and to see what sort of friends they have. And when I'm satisfied they are genuinely interested in Hinduism, I then admit them as Facebook friends.
Okay.
And they're very pleased and they send me messages of thanks. And I basically communicate with them about Hindu Dharma, Hinduism study group. Whatever material that I give in my Saturday classes, I try to send that through the Facebook Messenger to each individual person who is interested, to make them aware of what we are learning in our classes.
And what about this younger group? Are they keen, or there is an interest from the younger group? Because like I said earlier, that we are losing a lot of these younger Hindus to other religion because of this unawareness of our religion, not unknowing. They only know the rituals, and they don't even know the ritual. They only see rituals as Hinduism. But Hinduism is beyond ritual, according to me, from the little experience or knowledge that I have. Yeah. So please explain those ritual and the younger people looking at it, and how do they respond to you?
Okay, that's a very good question. Now, regarding Facebook, when a person sends a request to be a friend, I have no real knowledge of who exactly they are. I can only go by what profile they've set up on the Facebook. Sometimes they include their age, so I have a rough idea of how old they might be, but that's not always the case, and often they don't put the right age. They sometimes put the age of their grandmother or whatever. So it's an impossible age. So, but reading between the lines, looking at their profile and finding out who they are, and looking at their Facebook friends, because Facebook allows as an insight into their friends, it appears that there are a few, not many, a few younger people, and looking at their date of birth, it seems that they might be anything right down to about 18 years old. I'm very careful that I don't want any Facebook friend who wants to be a friend who might be below 18, because I don't know what the actual legislation and regulations might be for people below 18. So I'm very careful about that. So I usually prefer that they might be more than 20, for instance. Now, the questions that the younger people are asking range from, why does a Hindu lady have a tilak on their forehead? To questions like, why do we have a triangular flag, sometimes orange in color, on top of temples? So I then get in touch with experts within the group and also do a lot of reading up through the internet and various books, and I give them answers. And the other aspect is about prasadam. The younger people often come up with worries about their school friends mock them when they are trying to offer prasadam to their school friends, and they laugh off, and that I think is playing on their minds. So I try to reassure them through the Facebook Messenger that, look, this is not the work of the devil. This is actually a very healthy food that the priest is giving you. Obviously there is sweet food also, but often there's fruit there which has been blessed, so you should take it yourself and explain to your friends, because after all, explaining to your own friends using your own language, kids language, I don't mean kids language, but in younger people's language, you may be able to explain to other people what this prasad is all about. So I think it's probably a bit too early to map out the actual demographics of the Facebook friends in terms of the areas of the world, in terms of the age range, and in terms of where they come from. But I think eventually, particularly when I get help from other people, we'll be able to have certain regions and categorize people into age groups and religious groups. And so I'm looking forward to those challenges.
Okay, we were talking about the children being mocked in school because of prasadam, even if you put a tilak here, what are you know, especially I'm sure in the Western society, you put something foreign on your head, forehead, what are you know? So, and they do not know what to explain because at home, mother says so, father says so, could be. How could this be addressed? What could be the parents' role in educating the children?
Right, this is a difficult issue. And I think it needs to be addressed by the parents, of course, because religious instruction, religious information must by definition come from the parents. However, a lot of the Hindus might be in poorly paid jobs. So often they are finding the need to work extra time at their work, which means that the kids, the younger people are left at home and the parents don't have enough time to explain to the kids.
The bread and butter issue is more dominant in their life than the spiritual purpose or reason that they...
Precisely. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is that the pegs, as we call them, the P is for pujaris, the priests, A is for the acharyas, G is for the gurus, and S is for the sannyasis. I think for many, many years, these people that I've just grouped into PAGS, their role has been affected by, firstly, the fact that when people make donations into temples, a lot of the money is taken away from their control. So the people who work in the temple don't often get paid. So therefore, they then have to find other ways of earning money, which is why they charge money for doing specific ceremonies, wedding ceremonies and abhisheks, etc. Secondly, their role is affected by them not being educators, they're not being social workers. So for example, if
we are talking about pegs now, they are not being, okay.
The pegs. So for instance, if a Hindu is sick, our pegs don't go to the house of the Hindu to have a check, unlike the priests for Catholics or imams for Muslims, who I understand actually look after the sick people.
Yeah.
So we don't have to, we are missing that major element. And the second, the third element is that our priests and the pegs are not educators. They do not teach. They cannot teach. So we're missing that. So we need to address that by educating the priests, by having special courses for them so that they learn how to teach, because that's missing.
And how to address this? I think this is a common issue even in Malaysia. Temples are run by individuals most of the time. If you see in certain temples, the president is the wife, the president the husband, the deputy president is the wife, the treasurer is the son, the secretary the son-in-law, the committee member are their children. I don't know, So this is norm. Then a rare situation. So and then what happens is I myself have met some of these gurukul. We talked about this. Why are you not playing this role as an educator, just like the pastors in the church and all that? They say our hands are tied. We are not allowed to do this. What we are supposed to do is generate income.
Yes.
So the temples have now become a business unit rather than a community center.
Absolutely.
So the leaders of these temples need to contribute to the religion. Otherwise, I believe in less than 15-20 years, there will be plenty of temples. There will be no Hindus. And the pegs will not have a job to do.
Absolutely.
It's happening very fast. We are building temples at a faster rate, as fast as the Hindus are being converted.
Yes.
The temples are being built every other day, but the Hindus are being converted this way. So when you come to a point where you will have plenty of temples, but there's no Hindus. So I think these leaders, one of those issues according to me, now I'm not saying just because I have to make this statement. I have spoken to the people. I went to this Gurukul's annual AGM and I asked them, why are you not doing this? This is your role. He said, we love to do this, but we are not allowed. If we ask question, we lose our job.
Yes. That's so we have to find a way to address this
And
major
leaders
area.
of Hindu temples, I humbly request, there's anything you can do for Hinduism is, I think we need to put money. Money is important. I understand you need to run an organization, a place. Money is important. But I think as a Hindu, we need to serve our dharma.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah? That's
I
the
agree with that.
least we can do for the religion.
Absolutely. I agree very much there. And we need to find a way to do this and do this quick before Hindus become an exhibit in a museum like the Aztecs and the Incas and the Mayans.
Yeah, if you don't do, I think there is the awareness is starting. By the way, I need to tell you, உங்களை சொல்லணும் என்னன்னா முகேஷ் ஜியை வந்து நான் வந்து வாட்டி I met Mukesh ji in Mauritius in one of the Hindu conferences. Yeah, that's where we met for the first
Yes.
time last year. We had wonderful experience.
Yes.
From there, we have a group, we've been keeping in touch, and him plus many others is doing their best to see what we can contribute to our religion, so that, because it is such a beautiful religion, until you know. If you do not know, it is a religion. I go there and I do the rituals, I walk. It doesn't mean anything to me. But the moment you start understanding, you start living it, your life becomes amazing.
Absolutely. And I think we need to also really understand and implement this thought that Hinduism isn't just a religion. Hinduism is a way of life. Hinduism is spirituality. And Hinduism is a very deep set of philosophies. And we need to understand that. And really Hinduism, as part of the Sanatana Dharma, is one of the most beautiful experiences that one could have. And
it teaches you everything.
Yes.
From waking up to going to sleep,
Yeah.
everything. Talk to people, the way why you sit in this way, why you hold your hand this particular way, why you do this. Everything has a scientific reason behind it. Until and unless you study those things, you're going to miss so much.
Yes,
Being born a Hindu.
Yes.
For me, is being born a Hindu is his gift to you.
yeah.
Do not waste it.
Do not waste that beautiful opportunity that
Yes.
your ancestors have given you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mukesh ji is doing so much. I'm sure there's a lot of other people also doing this, but it is not enough. There is much more effort need to put in, so that this knowledge, this science, this way of life is shared with people, so Hindus especially. Now, I also realize these days there are many Caucasians who have now started to look at Hinduism.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't want to mention the gurus or which school, but I'm sure some of us know there is a flocking of these non-Indians or Bharatis moving and discovering Hinduism, and they get amazed. When I was in Tiruvannamalai 2-3 years ago, I saw so many putties, Russian, convert, I mean, I don't know whether they convert, wearing saris, and it's amazing.
Yes.
Whereas we, the Indians, the Hindus, the Bharatis are now, we are, without realizing, we are moving into a religion. I don't know how to say this, but you're missing something.
Yes.
Study this, understand this. It's beautiful. Until and unless you, again I repeat, unless and until you discover it, until you study this, you don't know what you're missing. I don't know.
Absolutely.
You want to say something on that?
Well, you touched upon a very important point about the Western people, if I can say in quotation marks. Western people, particularly European people, Scandinavian people, etc., they are very highly intelligent people, and intelligent people ask questions.
Yeah.
So they're beginning to ask lots of questions, and their religions that they're born into don't afford them that scope of being able to ask questions. So out of frustration, they look into Eastern wisdom.
Yeah.
And so that allows them that opportunity to learn more things about life. And whilst they might try to look at other options in the Eastern wisdom, like Shintoism, etc., or Buddhism, eventually Hinduism becomes their home.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be in Banaras about a month ago, less than a month ago, and in Lahari Mahasaya's place, where Paramahamsa Yogananda, I think, his guru,
Yes.
and there were no Indians.
Yes.
There were about 5, 6 of this. There was one guy from Australia, Spain. You know, they were there meditating and appreciating the wisdom that we own.
Yes.
Yeah. So before I say thank you to you, I like you to say, what would you like to say to the audience about what you are doing, about religion, a way of life?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on this show, and I'm very happy to have been here and speak with you. What I would like to see is that, like myself, having set up the Hinduism study groups in London, it's up to you. You also can set up Hinduism study groups in your own local area. They don't have to be big groups, just 5 people, 10 people, start off conversation, maybe in your own home or somebody else's home, in coffee houses like I did, or if you're lucky enough to find a temple, go and find if there's a room there, 5 of you, 10 of you, gather together, ask each other questions about Hinduism, and from that build up little groups. And eventually you will find that it's like a domino effect. The whole of your local area, community area, then your state area, then your country, and eventually other neighboring countries, it'll spread. It's a domino effect. And what you're doing is spreading goodness. We're not trying to take over the world. We're actually spreading the basic good message of Hinduism. And that's what I would like to say to you. And finally, I would like to say Jai Hind and Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, sir. So, நண்பர்களே, சகோதரர்களே, சகோதரிகளே, முகேஷ்ஜி சொன்ன மாதிரி இந்த சமய கல்வி வந்து எல்லாரும் பொறுப்பு, மற்றவங்க செய்வாங்கன்னு எதிர்பார்க்காம நம்ம என்ன செய்ய முடியும், நான் என்ன செய்ய முடியும்னு ஒரு சமய கல்வி நீங்கள் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிங்கன்னா உங்கள் இடத்துல கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமாக இந்த சமயத்தை வந்து எல்லாத்துக்கும் ஷேர் பண்ணலாம். ஏன்னா இது வந்து நம்ம சமயம் வந்து ஒரு எனக்கு கேட்டிங்கன்னா ஒரு வளப்பிரசாதம். இட்ஸ் எ கிஃப்ட். வளப்பிரசாதம். இதை நம்ம கற்றுக்கணும். கற்றுக்க மட்டும் இல்லாமல் மற்றவங்களுக்கும் வாய்ப்பு கொடுக்கணும் கற்றுக்கிறதுக்கு. இதனால் எவ்வளோ சந்தோஷம் கிடைக்குன்னு நாம் சொல்ல முடியாது, நீங்கள் அனுபவிக்கணும். ஸோ இன்னும் இதை பற்றி கொஞ்சம் தெரியணும்னா ரொம்ப பேர் இருக்காங்க உதவி பண்ணுறதுக்கு. நம்ம முகேஷ்ஜியை வந்து யூ கேன் கான்டாக்ட் ஹிம். This is a website they can go into,
yes,
which is called I repeat what was said earlier, is hsgink.org. Yeah, avangaloda website, and then from there you have a link to the Facebook. Yes. And if உங்களுக்கு கேள்விகள் ஏதாச்சும் கேட்கணும்னா அவங்க தயாரா இருக்காங்க பதில் சொல்றதுக்கு. இவ்வேளையில் முகேஷ்ஜி நம்ம இடத்துக்கு வந்ததுக்கு நம்மளுக்கு ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம், ரொம்ப நன்றி. ஐ டைம்ஸ் மூலமாக நம்மளை இன்டர்வியூ பண்ணுறதுக்கு ரொம்ப நன்றி. தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச் for taking your time to be with us, Mukeshji. Have a pleasant trip back to UK, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, you too, Kumarji. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you for your good wishes, and I wish you all Hindu people in Malaysia well.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Nandri. Vanakkam.
Namaskar.